In a small compound on the outskirts of Lusaka, there lived a boy named Brian. Brian was not like the other children. At school, he struggled to read. When the teacher asked questions, he kept his head down. When others laughed and answered, Brian stayed silent. "Useless boy," one teacher once said under her breath. The words followed him everywhere. At home, things were no better. His father compared him to his older brother, who always came home with good grades. "Why can't you be like him?" his father would ask. Brian never had an answer, so he stopped trying. Years passed, and Brian barely made it through school. He failed his final exams. That day, as he walked home holding the results, the world felt heavy. Children were celebrating, parents were smiling, but Brian, he walked alone. When he reached home, his father didn't even look at him. "I knew it," he said. "You will never become anything." Those words broke something inside Brian. That night, he packed a small bag and left home. Brian moved. He found small piece jobs at construction sites. He carried bricks, mixed cement, worked long hours under the hot sun. People still looked down on him, but something had changed. For the first time in his life, no one was comparing him. No one expected anything from him. And strangely, that gave him freedom. One day while working, Brian noticed something. The man supervising the site, a quiet, respected builder, couldn't read building plans properly. He relied on others to explain things. Brian watched carefully, every day, silently. At night, Brian would sit under a small light and try to teach himself. He borrowed old books, asked questions, made mistakes. Many times he wanted to give up, but then he remembered the words, "You will never become anything." And each time he whispered to himself, "I will prove them wrong." Years passed, and slowly Brian improved. From carrying bricks, to assisting, to understanding plans, to leading small tasks. One day, an opportunity came. The site manager didn't show up. Workers were confused. No one knew what to do. Brian stepped forward. His voice shook at first, but he spoke. "Let's continue. I know what to do." And that day, everything changed. Years later, Brian stood in front of a newly completed building, his building. He was no longer the boy who was called useless. He was now the man people called boss. One afternoon, as he sat in his office, someone walked in. It was his former teacher. She looked around in disbelief. "You built all this?" she asked. Brian smiled. "Yes." She hesitated, then said softly, "I'm sorry for what I said back then." Brian paused. Then he replied, "It's okay. Those words built me." Brian later returned to his old school, not as a student, but as a guest speaker. He stood in front of children who looked just like he once did, quiet, doubting, afraid, and he said, "Never let someone else's words become your future. Sometimes the person they call useless is the one who hasn't discovered their strength yet." And that day, a few children lifted their heads, just like Brian once wished he could, because sometimes the story is not over when people think it is. Sometimes that is where it begins.